Good morning. Thank you for coming to this Pay It Forward talk at Life Coach University. I'm Nancy Sawyer. Welcome. I'm just going to take a minute to get my technology set up here. I'm so glad you're joining me today. Move that over there. Move this over here. All right. So happy Thursday. I'm Nancy Sawyer. I am an intentional living coach, and I'm here today to do a Pay It Forward talk through Life Coach University. All of these talks are free to attend, and there are an awful lot of coaches on this platform who are sharing great ideas, great thoughts, and great wisdom. So I encourage you to enjoy them, to sign up for as many as you'd like. And our only ask is that you pay it forward in your own life in some way, however you want to do that, whether it's buying someone a cup of coffee, sharing a tip that you learned through this talk maybe, or just saying a nice word to someone, something else that you can think of, whatever you want to do. It can be small, it can be big, it's up to you. However you pay it forward is up to you. Thank you so much for making the world a better place. All right, so I'm Nancy Sawyer, like I said, an intentional living coach. And you may wonder, what is intentional living? Intentional living is making choices every day to live the life that honors you, how you want to live, and what you value, rather than waiting for someday, like when you retire, or building a life that you don't need a vacation from is actually what we're trying to do. So that's what intentional living is. There are ways that we can every day create a life that we love. And that's what I teach. I do offer individual coaching. I'm the founder and facilitator of the Compass Club, which meets weekly. And that is women supporting women in growth. And I also do offer a 6-week course on intentional living, excuse me, that gets you started on living intentionally for you. That kind of gives you the basic foundation of how to start living intentionally and understanding that we do have a choice every day in the life that we create. Okay. So today's topic is language for good living. I'm really excited about this. It is a great topic. It is about communication. And I have some very specific tips that will help you transform all of your relationships with yourself and with other people. When you speak in a way that attracts rather than repels, good things and good people will be attracted to that energy, and they will show up in your world. So what I would say is, if you haven't already, grab a notebook and paper and or pen and paper, and in case you want to take some notes here, because I have 10 tips, and I know that's a lot, but it's okay. And a little bit of housekeeping. So I am reading from some notes. I tend to go way off topic if I don't have notes to guide me. I often look up and around as I formulate my thoughts. Know that I am 100% present and here with you today. I am not a polished and perfect speaker. I speak from my heart. And thank you for allowing me to show up authentically as myself. I hope you take the opportunity to show up authentically in your own life as well. I hope that you enjoy this and find a few tips that you can take with you today that will help transform your relationships and the energy that you put out every day. If you have comments or questions, you can put them in the chat, please. I'm not going to use the Q&A because that's a little too much for me to manage today. I do have 2 screens going. So if you have comments or questions, put those in the chat, and I will periodically check in and see if there are any questions there that I can answer. All right, so let's go. I want to start by letting you know that you have so much power. A lot of times we feel helpless. We feel like we don't have control. And I want to tell you, you do have control. You have so much power. You can create any interaction you want. You can create your life by bringing the good energy, the uplifting energy to every interaction. Okay, you have the power to walk into a room and change the energy. I want you to be aware of that. The number one rule I always talk about is to speak with love and kindness whenever possible. Always come from love and kindness. We're all humans. We are all doing the best we can with the tools that we have. Remember that your perspective is just that. It's your perspective, and it's based on how you were raised, your experiences, your beliefs, your values. And we all have our own stuff that we bring to the table. So know that your perspective is only your perspective, and someone else may have a different perspective, and that is perfectly fine. In fact, that's what makes life interesting. So to follow up with that, I want to say that requiring others to think the same as you is pretty much a losing battle. Save yourself the trouble of trying to convince others to be just like you or to agree with you all the time. When you can let go of being right, you're going to be much happier. So now that we know all that, how do we go about communicating with ourselves, with others, with the universe? Words are energy, and energy creates. The energy you bring or put out has a big effect on what you'll put back. So before we speak, I encourage you to think about how your words are going to be received. This is what being intentional with our words is about. We want to intentionally choose words that are welcoming, that are warm, that are supportive, that draw people in and engage them. We want to create a safe space for the other person to step into. All right, I'm going to start with the good stuff. Conversing with yourself. You are the person you talk to most of all. It's the longest relationship you're ever going to have in your life is the one with yourself. So it's very important that we talk kindly to ourselves inside our head and out loud about ourselves, by the way. So tip number one in Language for Good Living is remove yourself from the emotion or the behavior. What does that mean? It means if you're feeling sad, we say, I feel sad, instead of saying, I'm sad. It's a very small distinction, but it has very big power, because when we identify our whole being with the negative emotion, I'm sad, I'm angry, I'm frustrated, there's nowhere for us to go. It just identifies us as a being, as that emotion. However, when we say, I feel sad, it allows the emotion to flow through and go away. It's just a feeling. It's not me. Do you see the distinction there? I hope that resonates with you. It's a very important thing to do because, again, you're backing yourself into a corner when you say, I'm angry. Say, I feel angry. No, with the full knowledge that in a few minutes, you might not feel angry anymore. The same thing goes with behaviors. Sometimes we do things that hurt other people. We just do. We're human and we make mistakes. When that happens, instead of identifying your whole being, I'm a terrible person, right? Sometimes we say that. Excuse me. Instead of saying I'm a terrible person, we can say my behavior was hurtful. It separates you, the person, from the behavior. You are not the behavior or the emotion. By the way, the same thing goes with other people, right? When we're talking about others, this also translates. He or she is mean, or he or she is a bitch. Instead of classifying the whole person as something, we can say, gee, they just really did a crappy thing, or their behavior hurt me. It's separating the individual from the behavior or the emotion. So that's tip number 1. Let's move to number 2. Excuse me, I have some tea and I'm going to drink it. It's allergy season where I am, and I do have a little bit of an allergy. So thank you for allowing me to interrupt. Okay, tip number 2, use language for living in the present. What does that mean? Well, it means I am instead of I will. When you say I am, that means you are that now. This is especially important when you are trying to create your future self, when you're trying to create a better person that you want to be in the future. You have to start living that now. So I am a great mom is much stronger than I'm trying to be a better mom. Do you see the difference there? I am a successful business owner. For me, I went running today. So today I call myself a runner. I am a runner. And as I have developed for me a running habit in my life, which I know is very healthy for me, and I really enjoy, a lot of times I have this negative self-talk that says, you're not a runner. What are you doing? Why are you signing up for that race? And what I've decided is that on every day that I run, I am a runner. And I can absolutely say that I am a runner. So what you do today is what you are. The other thing is if you're trying to quit something or trying to better yourself, right? How can you use language that supports your efforts? When you say, I am trying to lose weight, that kind of gives you an out. When you go to that party and the cake, they're serving dessert and they're offering you cake. It's easy to say, I'm trying to lose weight, but okay, I'll have that cake today. However, if instead you say, I am committed to losing 5 pounds, it doesn't give you an out. When you say I am trying, it kind of gives you an out, right? But when you're committed to something, there's no out because it's who you are. I use the example of smoking. If you say, I'm trying to quit smoking, it gives you an out. I'm trying to quit, but okay, I'll have a cigarette right now. Versus when you change the language and you say, I am not a smoker, there's no out, there's no option, because if you're not a smoker, you don't even consider having a cigarette. Same goes for lots of things that we're trying to quit. So a subtle shift in using language for the present and saying what you are now, not what you will be or what you're trying to be, can make a big difference. All right, on to number 3. Tip number 3. Stay away from judgmental words. The simplest ones of all, good and bad. We use them all the time. That's a good decision. That's a bad decision. She did a bad thing. She did a good thing. Using these words is judging. It's judging everything. It's judging the action, and it's judging people. I use this a lot in talking about decisions. I don't say that's a good decision or a bad decision. I always say a decision either gets you closer to where you want to be or farther away from where you want to be. It's as simple as that. We don't have to judge it. So try to stay away from judgmental words. If you're doing something that's a good choice, something that's helpful, you could say helpful. That's a helpful choice. Or that's concerning. That behavior is concerning to me. And then you can talk about why. That behavior is a little concerning to me, and here is why. Instead of just saying that's a bad decision. I hope that makes sense. Other judgmental words, or words that are name calling. Sometimes we say, oh, I'm so stupid, I'm dumb, that's dumb. And when we get away from judging and calling ourselves names, that's going to help significantly. I had a situation, it was actually about 5 years ago, and I was trying to hang a picture on the wall. And it's something I've just never been good at. And I do keep trying. I generally still do not do a great job of it, but I keep trying. And I was trying to hang something and I started getting very frustrated. And I ended up saying out loud, oh my God, I suck. Now I have 2 kids. And at the time they were 7 and 9, and they heard me. They heard how frustrated I was. I woke up the next morning and in my phone was a note. You know how you have those notes on the phone? And it was from the kids. And it said, you don't suck. We love you. You should love you too. It's so interesting how even little kids can notice when we're beating ourselves up. You don't have to do it. All right. So tip number 3, stay away from judgmental words, especially towards yourself and towards others as well. So let's move on to communicating with others. Communication with others is incredibly important. Okay. This works for all relationships, whether it's with your partner, your spouse, your coworkers, your children, your mailman, the Amazon Prime delivery driver. All these things can work in any situation. So tip number 4 is present any problem as an opportunity to create a win-win. So if you're at work and a coworker doesn't do something and you need the report for the meeting that's coming up tomorrow and they didn't do their job over the weekend or whenever it was, instead of emailing them or going to them and saying, we have a problem, you can say, hey, this is missing. Can we figure this out together? Let's do this together right now. It turns it into a we instead of a you. When we use you or the words like problem, issues, it puts people on the defensive, right? When you pick up that phone, you say, we have a problem right now. It immediately puts people on the defensive. So if you pick up the phone and say, hey, can I run this by you? I'm trying to figure this out. It invites them in to step into that space with you and to solve the problem together. In communication with others, it is important to stay away from using those loaded words like issues. Instead of issues, hey, we have a challenge, or we have something to figure out here. Again, use the language that invites, not repels or puts them on the defensive. Invite the other person to step in with you and solve it together. So tip number 5 is remove the criticism. When someone does something that bothers us, angers us, frustrates us, when they don't do something, it's very easy to immediately lash out with criticism. If your spouse comes home after a long day at work and they are clearly maybe frustrated or stressed, instead of greeting them with, what's wrong with you? You can ask, are you okay? Just that subtle shift. And this is the point I'm trying to make. What you put out, you have so much power to create a different interaction. And this is about learning how to harness that power so you can create safe spaces and positive interactions in your world. So we don't want to block that positive energy. When they are coming at us with someone stressed out or frustrated, by responding in a positive manner, that offers them a safe space to step into instead of going full on answering anger with anger or frustration with frustration. When you make a choice to respond with love and kindness, it's an opportunity for them to take a deep breath, calm down, and see if you can solve something together. I want to make a special note here. When we're doing texts or emails, we don't have the ability to put tone in there. So word choice is extra important. That's something to think about when you are sending emails, and reread it before you send it. Does it come off? How is it going to be received? Could it come off as being attacking or criticizing? All right, tip number 5. If you're asking for changed behavior, you want to start with a positive in the interaction. So my 16-year-old daughter often leaves her shoes not where I like them on the mat. She'll leave them in front of the couch or near the table or whatever. So I have started to say, instead of saying, why don't you ever put your shoes on the mat? I say, I love how you always hang up your backpack when you get home. And I would love it if you could also put your shoes on the mat. If you start with a positive, point out something good that they do, something you like about them, something that is positive. And then you can follow that up with, hey, I'd also love if you could do this. You want to request, not require. People don't respond well to that. When we demand that other people do things, we're going to get a defensive response. You need to do this. If we say that to someone, you need to do this, they don't receive that well because no one wants to be told what to do, right? You don't like being told what to do. I don't like being told what to do. When we request rather than demand or require, we're going to get a better response. We don't want to put them on the defensive and say, why don't you ever help me with the groceries, right? That's immediately putting people on the defensive and inciting them, getting them angry. Instead, you could say, I'd really appreciate it if you could help me with the groceries. As an aside, some of you might be sitting there saying, well, I've asked and I've asked and I've asked, and I don't get any changed behavior. Is there a different way? That's kind of a loaded discussion. This could be a whole other talk. But at the most basic level, if you put your 100% love and kindness and communication into speaking with another person, and you talk to them in a loving and kind way, and they don't step up and match that with love and kindness back to you, then that's when we get into deeper questions. Maybe it is time, maybe this isn't the right situation for me. Maybe it is time to leave that job. Maybe it is time to leave that relationship. If it's not a healthy space, that's just information for you, and you need to decide what you can tolerate or what you want to tolerate or what level is acceptable for you. So back to our topic. So demanding respect isn't going to get you anywhere. Demanding anything pretty much doesn't get you anywhere. Having a calm discussion about what your needs are, what you're trying to accomplish, and giving examples of how others can support you, how your needs can be met, that's going to yield much better results. Having conversations without criticizing. Excuse me. So tip number 6, stay away from you language. Words are sentences like, you hurt me, you did this, you didn't do that. Those are attacking phrases, and they immediately put people on the defensive. So instead of saying, you hurt me, you can say, I felt hurt. You want to make it about how you felt rather than how they acted. Okay, focus on the you, not the you being them attacking. So you can say something like, it hurt me when you did this. It upset me, or it angered me when this went down. It's sharing of information. It's sharing how you're feeling rather than attacking someone for doing something or not doing something. Okay. Any questions? If you have any questions or comments, please put it in the chat. I do want to make sure that you're aware of that. So tip number 7, you can shut down gossip with one simple word. Gossip is a terrible, terrible thing. Gossip basically is talking about someone else, sharing someone else's story. So sometimes you're in a space and someone walks up to you and says, "Oh my gosh, I just heard so-and-so did this. Isn't that crazy?" They're looking for a reaction. They want you to participate in the gossip and in the drama, correct? So what you can do is you can just say, you can shut it down. You can say, "Oh, I'm sorry to hear that," or "Yay for him." Sometimes you can say nothing. Sometimes you can say, I don't really want to get into this. That's his story to share. Those are ways you can shut down the drama. Sometimes people use the word crazy. That's crazy. When they read about something, they hear about someone doing something. And the one shift I did several years ago, because I used to say it a lot. I didn't realize it, but I used to say, "Oh my God, that's crazy." Now I changed the word to "that's interesting." And the shift is when you say "that's crazy," that's placing a judgment on something. That's placing a judgment. But when you say "that's interesting," that invites curiosity. It invites, "Oh, I wonder why they would do that. Wow, that's fascinating," right? I use fascinating too. But interesting is a good word choice instead of saying "that's crazy," because crazy is a judgy word. Okay, tip number 8. When addressing behavior with others, address only the current situation. Don't generalize, don't exaggerate, stay away from extremes. So extremes, and a great example is when you say, "You're always late." So when you use a phrase like that, you are judging not only what they are doing right in this moment, but you are criticizing everything they've done in the past. You're always late, right? And I'm sure that there is a time when that person was on time. There must have been one time in their life when they were on time. So we don't want to go to extremes, okay? I never follow my diet, to yourself, right? I never follow my diet. The important thing is to not talk to yourself like that, because there are times when you do follow your diet, right? And when we block ourselves into the always and the never, it doesn't allow room for growth. Okay, it's okay to acknowledge that sometimes we mess up, sometimes things go wrong, and our whole goal here is to encourage better behavior going forward. And when we throw a label, "You're always late," it doesn't allow room for growth. So if they're late coming home today, someone comes home late today, address today only, and why it's important. You don't want to make them pay for coming home late last week again, or last year, or 2 years ago. When we say always or never, we're making them pay over and over again for something they did or didn't do a long time ago. How many times do we have to keep paying for that? How many times do we have to make others pay for that? It is okay, by the way, to acknowledge patterns and why they might be concerning, right? But there's a difference between expressing concern versus criticizing. So it would be okay to say, "You came home late again, and I'm concerned because I'm beginning to feel that I can't trust you." That invites a conversation. Express express what is bothering you and why it's important. Okay. So tip number 9, you want to form sentences in the positive, not in the negative. Instead of saying, "Don't you think that's wrong?" you could say, "What do you think about that?" When you say "don't you think," it forces people to agree or disagree with you. It puts them, kind of backs them into a corner. Don't you think that's wrong? So this puts them in a confusing state of, okay, I have to agree with them or they're going to be mad at me. Or if I don't agree with them, you know, do you see what I'm saying? It forces people into a corner. And we don't want to do that. We want to allow a flow of thoughts and information. So when you say, what do you think about that? You're not pushing your opinion on them. It doesn't insert your opinion at all. It invites them to step in and have a conversation with you. It also shows them that you are open to receiving a different opinion. All right, let's move on to number 10. Tip number 10 is the most important one of all. Remember that you can only control what you put out, not how others receive it. We can do all the work, use all the nice words, say all the things, and still there are times when other people are just not ready to receive what we have to say. And that's okay. We do have to move into acceptance at that point. So sometimes that other person, they might be having a bad day. They might be distracted with something else on their mind. Maybe they have other priorities or stressors right now. They're just not in a space where they can engage with you in a healthy conversation. Give them the benefit of the doubt. Don't take it personally. Understand that what we have in our mind on our agenda is about us. And everyone else has the same thing going on in their mind. They have their own agenda, their own stressors, and their priorities may be different from yours, and that is okay. Be patient. Things may not be solved in one interaction. Things are not going to change after one dialogue. It is a consistent effort on your part to be intentional with your words, with the ones you choose, and with the energy you put out. But continue to put out love and kindness and watch over time how things change. When we put out the good energy, good things are attracted to us. All right, so now I'm going to do a little wrap up. I'm going to review the 10 tips for you and then add a few more comments. And again, if you have any questions or comments, please put it in the chat. So, review of the tips. Tip number 1, remove yourself from the emotion or behavior. I feel sad instead of I am sad. Tip number 2, use language for living in the present. I am a good mom, not I'm trying to be a good mom. Tip number 3, stay away from judgmental words, especially good, bad, crazy, etc. Tip number 4, present any problem as an opportunity to create a win-win. When you have a challenge to deal with, invite the other people into the space with you so you can solve it together. Tip number 5, remove the criticism and replace it with love and concern. If someone is showing up angry, frustrated, stressed, instead of jumping at them, ask them if they're okay. That invites them to take a breath. Show them you're concerned. Tip number 5, when asking for changed behavior, start with a positive. Tip number 6, stay away from you language. You hurt me. Focus instead on how their behavior makes you feel, right? I felt hurt when you did this. I felt hurt when this happened. Tip number 7, shut down the gossip and drama. Do not engage in that at all. Tip number 8, address only the current situation. Don't generalize or exaggerate, and stay away from extremes like you're always late. We don't want to make them pay for things they did years ago. Tip number 9, form sentences in the positive, not in the negative. Think about that before you send, when you're writing or when you're speaking. And tip number 10, remember, you can only control what you put out, not how others receive it. Even though that's true, we always want to try to put out positive, good, loving, kind energy. All right. A few other notes before we go. we are nicer to others when we are happier and when we feel good. So I'm going to throw in the importance of self-care and caring for yourself, right? I want you to lead with love and kindness always, because that creates the safe space for others to let their guard down and step in with you. I want to mention a quote. I was on a Zoom meeting yesterday with a group of about 45 people, and Bill Carmody was, he's a marketing guy. He's fabulous. And he was leading the meeting. And he said, communication is not what I say, it's what you hear. So it's really important before you speak to take that extra moment to think about, how is it going to be received? Is it welcoming? Is it allowing the other person to step in and step up? Or is it making them cower away or feel defensive? So when you speak with intention, you can open that space for them to step in. I'm just going to pause here for a minute because there's something in the chat that I want to address. Yes, language is so important. When I'm changing my language, I notice I get pushback and question. Okay, so any tips when someone is changing and others around them want them to stay the same? That is a very big question. Yes, my tip to that is you are responsible for you and for living your life. And if it's time for you to change or to step in, or you're pursuing personal growth or pursuing something that's new, and you're not feeling support from others, communicate. Come from love and kindness. Explain why this is important to you, why this is important for your life, and go forth and do it. And if you're not, I have to ask the question very bluntly. If you've done that and you've communicated and you've shared with love and kindness why this is important to you, and you're still not getting support, the question is, are you surrounding yourself with the right people? Sometimes as we learn and grow through life, people flow in and flow out of our lives, and they're there for a certain period of time. And we learn and we love and we enjoy, but sometimes it's time to move on. And if you find yourself surrounded by people who are not supporting what's important to you, it might be time to take a look at that, have some serious conversations with others and with yourself. I think that, we have to be authentically us, or we're not going to be happy. If we continue to try and please others, it just leaves you in a life feeling unfulfilled. And you deserve better than that. We all deserve better than that. And then another question is, which one of the 10 tips should someone start with first? Well, I guess all of them. I think the most important thing is to come from love and kindness, and to take an intentional pause before you speak. And just do a quick check in your brain. Is what I'm about to say inviting someone to step in, or is it repelling them? If you can kind of keep that in your brain before you speak, I think that is probably the most important thing, taking that extra micro moment to pause. Thank you. Great questions. So yeah, taking that extra moment. So I want to, as I wrap this up, I want to remind you that we are all works in progress. We're all constantly evolving, growing, improving. When you mess up, try again. Keep trying, keep growing. The world needs you to be authentically you, to keep trying, and to keep bringing your amazingness into every interaction, right? Remember, you deserve greatness. You are full of greatness. You are full of energy, and you have so much to offer the world. You're a masterpiece in the making, and we need you out there. You're not required to be perfect. You're only required to do your best. Okay. And your best is going to be different on any given day. And again, back to the self-care, your best is going to be better when you're caring for yourself in a positive way and giving yourself what you need. So I would like you to go and do with grace for yourself and for others. Thank you very much. I hope this has been helpful. This has been a Pay It Forward talk on language for good living. I am Nancy Sawyer, an intentional living coach. I hope you learned something today and have some tips that you can take with you throughout your day. If you want to find me and learn more about the Compass Club, which is what I facilitate weekly meetings for women. I also do an intentional living course. You can go to nancybsawyer.com. I want to thank you, send a big thank you to Life Coach University. This platform is amazing. And we're just trying to make the world a better place and invite anyone that needs it to step in and learn from us coaches. Coming up, there are lots of great coaches. We have Lonnie Kim, Michelle Cavill, Anna Wallner, Jody Jackson. There are lots of great coaches who are offering wisdom and sharing words on great topics. So sign up for as many as you want and figure out how you're going to pay it forward today. I just want you to go and be part of the energy and the great universe that we all have. And how can you give your energy to pay it forward? Thank you so much for joining me and have a wonderful day.